What's going on, guys? It's Spartacus708 coming at you with a review on the TMNT vs. Batman double pack with Donatello and Batgirl. Of course, I'm really excited to finally have these figures in hand due to the fact that I really love the animated movie that's based on these figures, and I am happy that DC Collectibles is giving us figures for that, because these two franchises were basically my childhood characters and put into one movie. It's really rare when two companies come together to make one movie. I'm looking at you, Marvel and Sony, but I am hoping that DC Collectibles does continue with this line, like give us more characters, vehicles. I would love more villains for this line. But anyways, let's open the package and take a look at the details. DC Collectibles did a nice job with Donatello, but there are a few issues I have with the figure. For instance, the head sculpt. I do like the head sculpt, don't get me wrong, but in the movie of Batman versus the TMNT, there were some parts where he was smiling or grinning, and I wish we would have got a head sculpt with him grinning. Like, for instance, we did get a head sculpt with him with his motorcycle helmet. It looks nice, don't get me wrong, I do like it, but I find it that I'm not going to be using that head sculpt unless they give us some vehicles to go with these figures, because it's just going to be laying in a Ziploc bag. And he also comes with a slice of pizza, the TCRI ooze canister, also a shell foam that has really nice detail. I do love how it looks. Nice thing about it is that it has a hinge where you can open and close it. I think that's my favorite accessory for Donnie. And of course, he does come with his iconic bow staff. Looks really nice. Nice sculpting, nice paint job and everything. I do love the wraps that the bow staff has, and it does come apart to put it in his hand or put it in the back of his shell. So I do love that feature. I think every single Donnie should have that feature. I would be afraid of doing any paint rub on the bow staff. He also comes with two pair of interchangeable hands, one open palm for his ninja stands and another to hold his accessories. And now to get back to the figure, like I said, DC Collectibles did do a nice job on him. I do like the shell in the front and the strap that goes in front of his shell. And I do like this little touch that they did with the D for Donnie. None of the turtles do have letters in front of their strap. I would have wished they would have done it for all the turtles instead of just Donnie, because honestly, Donnie is my least favorite turtle. But of course, I do like them all, but like I said, Donnie's my least favorite one. The strap, of course, does have pouches, but you can't open it or anything like that. They're just plastic. And of course, he does have another pouch here. I'm going to call it pouch. I'm not even sure what this is. Doesn't look like a pouch, but I'm just going to call it a pouch. And of course, I do like the fact that they did this for his elbow pads. They look nice. Like, they added purple on them. But the only thing that I don't see a lot of reviewers talk about this is that they should have done the elbow a double jointed elbow, because this looks weird, because you're always going to have this sticking out like that, no matter what you do, unless you pose them just like this, just in a vanilla pose, you won't see that. But if you want him to hold like a pizza or something, it's just going to look weird with this sticking out. So I would have liked they would have done a double jointed elbow to connect it to this, and it would have been more cleaner than that. That just looks weird to me. The shell looks really, really nice. Can't complain nothing about the shell. And this strap, I'm seeing that it has like a gap right here and in the front as well. Not sure it's just my figure, but there's something to note. It just looks really off. I would just wish all this would have connected. This looks off. Like, look at that. In the front as well. Just a little gap. You can't really notice it in the front, but in the back you notice it a little bit. Also, the bandana, I wish they would have done it in a cloth material. I know I'm asking a lot for this figure, but just little things that I wish they would have just implemented. It would have been 100 times better for the figures. But I do like the fact that they did it in a different way for each turtle. Like, Leonardo's is in one side, and Raphael's in I believe on the right hand side, and Donatello's is in the back. So I do like that. And of course, I do like the coloring that they chose for Donnie, for a lighter green. So I do like that. Another thing to note, this big gaping hole in the wrist, it looks really, really off. I know it's for more motion, ball joints for the wrist, but it just looks really off having this gaping hole. Of course, turtle legs really look skinny. And I like the fact that they did them really kind of skinny, because that's how I see Donnie. I don't see him bulky. I don't see him like a brooder or anything like that. I see him like a more thinner turtle in my mind. And of course, I do like the knee pads. They look really nice. Like, for instance, this is what I'm talking about. For the elbow pads, they should have done that. This would have looked more nicer than this, what we got. It just looks really off. Of course, his turtle toes. And nothing in the bottom of his feet. Like I said, do have my complaints about this figure. But honestly, it is a nice Donatello to have on your collection if you do collect turtle figures. Like I said, I'm in this line for the long run. And now to get into articulation of the figure, the head is in a ball joint. The way that the head is sculpted, it is hindering the articulation. So he can't look up at all. Can look down a little bit, not too much. Does have a swivel. His head does pivot just a tiny bit. His arms move out this much out. Does have single jointed elbows, so they bend in this much. The hands are in a ball joint, so they can't swivel. They do hinge like a roll of the dice motion. Doesn't have an ab crunch at all because of the shell. Move down this much, so that's pretty good. Move back that much, but because of the legs, he will have a big gaping hole in his thighs, so keep aware of that. You can't move it up at all, so just be aware of that. You can move his thigh side to side, so that's pretty good. Does have double jointed knees that can bend in this much, and so that's pretty good. Doesn't have a boot cut at all. You can move his foot down this much, can move his foot back that much, and it does have ankle pivot. And let's take a look at the all-star of this 2-pack. I think DC Collectibles did a nice job on her. There are little bit of issues that I have with the figure, especially with the articulation, but we'll go through that later on. Like, for instance, I do like how they did the mask for Batgirl. It looks really, really nice. Really animated, accurate. There are issues I have with the mask. For instance, like, it's not accurate paint job. Like, you could tell, like, it's splotching from the skin tone. It's not evenly. But you have to actually stare down at the figure, look at it up close for you to notice it. It don't really bother me because I am going to be displaying the figure, but you have to look at it up close to notice it. I do like how they did the lips of the figure. Like I said, she looks really animated, accurate. I do like how they did the hair. It looks really, really nice. I wish there would have been a little bit more sculpting into it, and it would have been popping a lot more than it does. But the only accessories that she really just has is just two interchangeable pair of hands. They look really nice. There's not a lot of detail to it. One is slightly open than the other one. And she also comes with the grapple gun, like the same one from Robin. Looks about the same, no really big difference. The same grapple hooks, one open and one closed. Also a batarang. Batarang looks really nice. It looks like the same Batman's. And also she does come with a slice of pizza. And also she does get the two darts. If you've seen the movie, the darts are mostly for curing some of the villains from being mutated. Sorry for spoilers. And my favorite accessory for Batgirl is the Batgirl phone. Looks really nice. Not too much detail on the front, like on the screen. There's no picture or anything like that. But I do like the back of the phone. It does have the Batgirl symbol. Nicely detailed. No paint splotches or anything like that. That is my favorite accessory for Batgirl. But anyways, like I said, they did a nice job on Batgirl. It looks really, really nice. I like the Batgirl symbol that they did for her. Looks really nice. There is a little bit of paint splash, but I don't mind it because you have to kind of like look at it from like this view to notice it. It's right there in the left hand corner. It's just, I don't mind it. Like staring at it like this, it won't bother me because it looks like it's nicely painted. And I do like her cape. It looks really nice, but like I said, they should have done a cloth cape for her. It's just, I do like the shortness of it, but I would have loved it a lot better if they would have done it as a cloth cape. But anyways, I do like the little lines that they did for her suit. Adds detail to the suit of Batgirl. Looks really, really nice. I do like her belt they added for her. And of course, this pouch, it doesn't open or anything like that. And it just kind of sucks because I wish they would have done weapon storage for her, like her phone or something, because it's just, if you're going to put pouches on figures, why don't you just have weapon storage for some of your accessories that comes with the figure? But that's just me. But anyways, of course, they did a nice paint job on the side of her thighs. Looks really, really nice. I do love her boots, nicely detailed. But of course, there is a paint splotch. Like, it's not evenly for her boots. Like, you can see some bleeding going into her suit. Looks really off. But I can't really complain too much of it, because I'm not going to be staring at her feet. I'm going to be staring at her torso like this. So, it's just fine to me. Like, I don't mind having paint splotches in some of my figures, but it has to be in certain places where I won't be staring at, because when you're looking at it from the display option, you're going to be staring at this, not at this. But it's just something to know. If you're going to buy this figure, it's one of those figures that I really recommend you going in store and getting it yourself, because you're going to have this issue. Did a nice detail on her boots, like I said. No tread. And the bottom of her feet. Like I said, I believe this is like the best figure out of this whole 2-pack. I think DC Collectibles did a nice job. I don't have a lot of complaints with her. And now to get into articulation of the figure, the head isn't a ball joint, but she can't look up at all because how the hair is sculpted, it'll hinder the articulation. She can look down this much. Can't swivel left and right. She can move her arms this much out. Does have single jointed elbows that bend in this much. Swivel on her wrist. Does hinge like a roll of the dice motion, so up and down. Swivel. Can only bend in this much. Can bend back that much. Can kick out this much out. Doesn't have a thigh cut, but you can swivel the thigh. Does have double jointed knees, so you can bend them in this much. So that's pretty good. Doesn't have a boot cut. Can move the leg this much in. Back this much in. And of course it does have ankle pivot. And just for a little size comparison, we do have the DC Collectibles Raphael standing next to the DC Collectibles Donatello. And of course the DC Collectibles Batgirl next to DC Collectibles Robin. And as you can see, these figures do stand very well with each other. And just for another size comparison, Donatello and Batgirl are standing next to the McFarlane's Toys All Might figure. If you haven't checked out the review for All Might, I would please advise you to do so. And now it's time for my rating of these figures. Of course, I'm going to first start with Donatello. I think DC Collectibles did do a nice job with Donatello, but it does have its issues. Like, for instance, I don't like the gap that Donatello has on his hands and forearm. Even in a vanilla pose, it's really distracting because you see that gap, and I don't like that. I know it's for more articulation on the wrist, but it just stands out a lot to me. Also, his belt buckle and strap, it's a nice job on DC Collectibles part, but I just wish it would connect. It would have been much cleaner if they would have done it like that, because I am afraid of it ripping towards time if I mess around too much with it. And I would be so mad if this thing rips, because this double pack costed around 40 to 50 bucks, and of course it's a GameStop exclusive, so you won't see these a lot in the near future. Also, the face sculpt, I do like it, but I would have wished they would have gave us another face sculpt, like him smiling or him thinking or him doing something else, because with this face sculpt, he just looks like he's just spacing out, and they just gave us a head sculpt that we're not going to be using. We're just going to be storing it in a Ziploc bag or putting it back in the packaging. It just frustrates me that they didn't thought about that at all. And also, the elbow pads are a little bit frustrating because I do want him to hold a pizza, and I know I'm going to be looking at that elbow pad when I'm staring at the figure, because it could have been easily fixed with double jointed elbows instead of the single jointed elbows. But I do love the figure and how it looks so thin. Like I said, Donnie is, in my eyes, a thinner turtle, and I do like the color that they chose for Donatello. If I was to rate this figure through 1 through 10, I would rate him a 6. It's not a bad figure, but I honestly kind of disappointed on DC Collectibles part, because I wish they would have done something better. They could have easily done this figure a lot better, but they didn't. But I am happy they made it, but I am kind of disappointed that they should have just done it better, if that makes any sense. And now it's time to rate Batgirl, where I honestly believe it is the best figure out of this double pack. DC Collectibles did do a nice job on sculpting and painting this figure. It does have some issues, but they are really minor issues with her. Stuff that I can live with. Like for instance, I wish that the hair sculpt was a little bit more cleaner, would have been popping a lot more, but I'm okay on how it looks. I wish there was more articulation with the figure, but like I said, I could live with those things because this figure, I'm not going to be posing her around like too much. I'm just going to be having her eating pizza with the turtles, and that's about it. If I want a Batgirl with a lot of posability, I would get the DC Icon Batgirl, and that would have been a good filler for this Batgirl, but I am digging this Batgirl a lot. And if I was to rate her between a 1 and 10, I would rate her a 7.5. Like I said, there is some issues with this figure, but I could live with it. But the painting and sculpting of this figure does do it justice enough to go get. But if you were to honestly tell me, hey, Spartacus, should I get this from GameStop at full price? No, I honestly don't think you should get it in full price. I honestly believe that you should get it when it's priced down because, like I said, the Donnie's not a bad figure, but I am a little bit disappointed on the figure because they could have easily made it a lot better than the Batgirl. But anyways, that's my review of the double pack of Batgirl and Donatello. If you could please like, comment, subscribe, it would help me out to make better content for you guys. And also, if you can please follow me in my Instagram and Facebook pages. Links are in the description below. And as always, have a good one, guys.